Hey everybody, it's the Herb Guy with the Elder Herb Shop, and welcome back to Where Science Meets Nature, a channel where we discuss the medicinal value of plants and other natural substances found in nature all around us, with a little bit of science thrown in because we can. Today we're going to talk about 5 medicinal herbs that you should harvest to get ready for winter. Now, because this month ends in R, that is usually the time when it's best to harvest the herbs. Now, in reality, you can harvest herbs any time of the year. The properties are still going to be there. They may not be as strong when the plants are young or much older and not as well formed, but they are harvestable. This is one of the plants we'll be talking about today. This is called Creeping Charlie, or ground ivy is another name for it. In between all the grass, this plant is actually very viney, and what I've done is I've grabbed a section of it that we're going to throw up on the table there and show you all how to process it while we discuss it a little bit. But as you can tell, it grows everywhere, and at least on our property, and you've probably seen it before. If you're one of those people that are really nitpicky about your yard, this is probably one you've seen and gone, how do I get rid of this? It can be a difficult one to get rid of, but yeah, that's one of the plants we're going to discuss today. Another one we're going to discuss obviously is our plantain. There's the plantain right there. I've done another video about the properties of plantain. Here's a good example of narrow leaf and common plantain growing side by side. They both have the same properties, and they grow in the same yard. I'd be willing to bet the buckhorn is right around here as well, and we'll probably see one of those while we're on our way, but that's another one of our herbs that we're going to discuss. Of course, we're going to talk about the dandelion and the benefits of a dandelion and why you'd want to harvest them, how you do it, what you do with it when you're done, which parts to use. We're going to talk about red clover flower, which is the one we just did the video on in the fermentation of the red clover flower and its use against osteoporosis. And the last herb we're going to talk about today is catnip. And the catnip you're going to be saving is not for your cat, it is for you and your family. It is one of those plants that is strong enough for a full-grown adult, but gentle enough for an infant. I've used it on all of my kids in regards to having gas and colic, and it works like a dream. As you can tell, I've got our table set up. Got some herbs here. Alright, so let's start with Creeping Charlie. What I did is I just dug a section out. That's all mainly roots in there. You can shake the dirt out for the most part. You can hear our chicken getting ready to lay an egg. Alright. Smells very earthy. As you can see, look at those roots. If you can see that, they all string together. That dirt is really stuck in there. You can keep wringing and washing and get the dirt to where it comes out of the roots. And once it's all cleaned up, if you can get it in pieces like this, and it can be difficult to get it in big chunks like this. There's a better way to see that. It can be a little difficult to get it in big chunks, but if you can, it makes it a lot easier to process because you can just hang the whole thing like an old shirt or something, you know, and you're going to want to use the whole plant, roots and all. Now, as you can see here, sorry about that, there is some grass tied up in there, you know, so if you're careful about how you look it over, you don't need the grass, because again, that's the only thing in your yard that has no medicinal value. So, the plant grows by rhizome, and some of these vines will get 15-20 feet long if you let them. Now, the reason why you want an herb like this is this is a respiratory herb. This herb is really good for like sinus issues, if you have sinusitis, or you know, like a sinus infection, coughs and congestion, bronchitis. It's good for ringing in the ears, tinnitus. It's used to help treat diarrhea. You can make a poultice out of it if you have hemorrhoids, or you can even drink it as a tea. You can use a poultice and put it directly on the hemorrhoids, which will help heal that up a little bit faster. Hemorrhoids can be rather uncomfortable. It's also used to treat cystitis, which is a common type of urinary tract infection. Typically speaking, women get it, and it can be really rather painful and inconvenient. This plant is certainly good, you know, because look, you're going to be home in the winter, right? So people aren't going to necessarily be, you're going to be stuck in the house. You're going to get a lot of dust and stuff from, you know, even no matter how well you clean, you're still inside, not necessarily getting fresh air. You're getting a lot of recirculated air. And you run the risk of getting more allergens and whatnot. And, you know, of course, the kids going to school or just anybody out in general, colds and flu are more common. We're coming up on that type of season. So, you know, this is clearly something you'd want to keep on hand. Now, a good way, there's the plant. Still a little dirty, but there's an example of it there. Now, an easier, cheaper way. Now, I did a video earlier on shoestring processing. Here's another way you can do this that works just as well. You can just use a hanger, just an old hanger, and hang them up on there. It'll keep them separated. You know, and you'd have to find somewhere maybe in your laundry room or in the shower. Hang them in there, and you know they'll drip dry, and eventually with the heat going, it'll dry out itself. Plants like this, these plants here that are rather long, that works really well for them. They're really good drapers. You can drape them. They're almost a shoestring all by themselves. And when they get dry is when you cut them up. You can put them in your blender. You can cut them up with a knife, whatever makes you feel better, I suppose. However you want to do that. I'm going to clear some of this stuff out so we can tell my water's a bit dirty. Go on to the next plant. We've already discussed this one, but here's plantain. Got some common plantain. This one is still going to seed. You want to clean out the roots. This is another one of those plants where you use the whole thing. If you want to use like just the leaves to add to a salad or whatever, you can do that. This time of the year, they're going to be a bit stringy, and they probably won't be all that tasty. The best parts of the plantain to use are the newer shoots that are coming off. These ones are they still have all the medicinal properties, and they'll still do all the same things. They're just not, oh, look at that. Isn't that so cute? Anyway, they're just not, it's not as good. They just don't taste as good, I mean. But, you know, of course you want to keep the plantain because as a tea, again, it helps with, it's another lung herb, so it's good for coughs and bronchitis. This herb also helps to treat diarrhea. If you have diarrhea or other digestive issues that are causing that kind of types of problems. It's also a pretty good herb to have around if you have kidney issues, you know, having bloody urine or blocked up kidneys. That's another good herb for that. That's another one that you can still use the hanger, only you just got to get a little creative with it. And what I do, just use a clothes hanger. Just like that, and you know you can I just fold the leaf over. These leaves are pretty sturdy. You know, if you've ever felt a plantain leaf, you can just take your plantain and put it like that right on there. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to fall. It's not going to break, and it'll stay out there and dry for you. I grabbed a couple of those. You can see the roots. The roots aren't really big. They're very stringy, and you know it's certainly not an issue. They might be a little bit problematic to cut up, you know, so if you put them in your blender or whatever, use a pair of scissors and cut them up real small. It makes you feel better. But yeah, oh look, there's another one. Anyway, on to the next plant. Dandelion. Now, if you guys have been following me for any length of time, you know I absolutely love this plant. This is actually one of the best. And I didn't have a whole lot of luck getting some good roots. I was kind of in a hurry. I'm trying to hurry up and get the videos out. And then I didn't go get my root shovel like I probably should have. I was trying to pull them up by hand. But as you can see, the roots are actually quite meaty. And, you know, if I'd have used a root shovel, we would have gotten a lot more of it in a couple of different directions here. And I didn't have a whole lot of luck with any of them. All of this root is good, though. It's not just this big part. All of this fine stuff is just as good, too. The leaf is good. Now, for this one, hang on one moment. You can dry it that way, just like you could use the other method like I just showed you with the plantain, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. But if you're going to do that, save your root aside separately. So you cut off the root. That you're going to cut up with a knife. Just get a regular old, you know, chef's knife or whatever, and dice it up. It cuts just like a carrot. This is actually very fine. They're very fresh. If you get them within the first 2 years of their life, they will definitely be nice and fresh and springy and easy to process. Now, you can, if you're limited on space, like a lot of people are, especially if you're living in the city, you can do multiple plants on one hanger, close hanger, and the leaves are, you know, it's on this part of the stem, the stringy part. It's not going to break either. You know, you can shake it, you can do whatever. It's not going to rip or break unless you really give it some real efforts. Now, why would you want to keep dandelion? Well, dandelion's also good for like stomach and liver conditions. It's a really good diuretic. It's good to help to cleanse your kidneys and your blood. It's used worldwide for all sorts of really cool stuff. But I think one of the coolest things about dandelion, and many people don't know, is its effect against melanoma cancer. And I did include a link to that study down in the description below. And this plant is not, hands down, one of the best herbs for killing melanoma that I've read about, and even science knows that that's a thing. It just depends on whether or not they're willing to admit it and who you're talking to, I suppose. The fourth plant we were going to talk about is red clover. This one's relatively easy. You know, you can literally just rinse these off in the sink. And just like the others, because it's got the stick here, you can bend them over when you're ready. Get your clothesline, get your clothespin. There we go. And it'll also hang on there to a point. This one won't necessarily stay as tight because that's kind of big and messy. Sorry, I'm trying to get it all in the picture. You wait until these are fully dry, and you use the whole plant, all of it. Now the stems aren't really going to cut very well. A lot of people, when they're dealing with red clover, they typically just deal with the leaves and the flowers. But if you get enough of them together, that's actually quite a bit of material. It started to fall off. I didn't have as much luck as I thought. Hold on. There we go. Alright, back on. So that one's an easy one. Now the reason why we'd want red clover is also another one of the respiratory herbs. It's really good. It's been used to treat like whooping cough and asthma and bronchitis. This is a good inflammation herb. Oftentimes people have issues with arthritis and pain, joint pain. So clearly you'd want to have something on hand that would help with taking care of those issues, especially if you're one of those kind of people that's trying to go natural. Now's the time to do that. This plant does contain phytoestrogen, so if you're like going through menopause or you have premenstrual issues, this herb is good for those types of conditions, but you probably should ask your doctor before you start taking them. Boy, those chickens are going nuts, aren't they? They better be laying a lot of eggs, otherwise that's a whole lot of noise for nothing. Now externally you can also use it as a poultice. It helps to heal burns and wounds faster, cuts and scrapes. Plantain, of course, the same thing. You can make the poultice out of the plantain the same way. You can even add it with the red clover and you'd have the benefits of both herbs because they both help to heal in different ways. Now the last plant, we just happen to have some that kind of took over all of our planters that we had from last year. It's catnip. Now, catnip is not for cats. I mean, it is for cats. You know, cats use it, and they, you know, if you have a cat and you've seen them on catnip, they act pretty high. No other way to put that. But this plant itself is really good for people. It again, like I said before, it is strong enough for a full-grown individual. If you have gas, if you have indigestion, if you have problems with digestive issues, this is the plant It's also shown to be good for anxiety and stress and relaxing and better sleeping. Really, really, it's a good plant to have around. Now you can make this into an extract. You can make this into a tea. You can dry any of these, and you can do any of that with them. I'm not going to do how to make an extract this video. I'll show, that'll be a later video. But with this one, you know, you just cut it, use the whole thing, stem and all. Catnip is starting to pick up popularity for its medicinal uses. Again, it's another one of those. It's also, it's a good expectorant drug. So if you're having issues breathing, you have asthma, if you have sinusitis, those types of conditions, this has been known to help with, because it's a very mild mint. So even if you don't necessarily like mint, it's not a bad herb to have on hand. It's not quite as minty as, say, peppermint or spearmint, but it's really good for helping with that type of problem, the internal gas and stuff. Now, this is another one that you can grind up and use as a poultice for wound healer. It's also shown to help with burns. If you're burnt, it helps to heal faster. And you can add it to the red clover and the plantain. Use them all together to make one poultice, make one tea. The benefits for these plants will overlap, and so you'll get the benefits of all of them in just a different way. So it could help with, you know, arthritis pain, joint pain, general body pain. It can help with colds and flu. The mix of these herbs, and then you have basically a medicine cabinet out of 5 simple herbs that are probably in your yard right now. This also, this plant now with catnip, it's also, there was a study done that showed that it helped with weight loss, and I'm really reluctant to say that there's a fat pill or there's an herb you can take that helps to reduce fat, though I've discovered throughout the summer that there are indeed plants that do that. But I'm still of the mindset that, you know, the calories out and calories in equation is more important. You have to expend more calories than you take in order to be able to lose weight. That is just the way it has to work. But this would certainly help with that. So, and I've included links to all these studies down below. So there's 5 different links for you to read through, and feel free to go ahead and read those. If you have any comments or suggestions for any future videos, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a like and a share. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our content. And I think that I have about talked myself out for the day. So I have a big mess to clean up. I'm going to get to that. And I hope you guys have a nice and safe day. And thanks for watching from the Elder Herb Shop and the Herb Guy. Goodbye.